Greetings from Gill Welding and Fabrication. We've got a new product in this video that we want to introduce to you. And this is a PBT D-150 turbo manifold for the Dodge trucks with the Slant 6. It uses the Dutra Dual exhaust like you would see basically over here we've got set up, which we'll show some more of that in a minute. But what we want to do is we want to show that the manifold's all stainless. It's discolored a little bit where it's been welded. You could polish the thing, but it won't matter. It's still going to turn colors anyway on you. But it has a pattern for a T3 and a T4 turbo. We've got this bracket here which will bolt in underneath the bottom of it. And it's kind of hard to see the bracket underneath here, but it bolts right in this area down here where this particular stiffener is right here going back to the bell housing. So it takes the weight of the turbo off of the manifold. And what we basically set everything up for is the size and everything of the way it is. It will handle an HX35 Cummins turbo. And the beauty is you can generally get an HX35 for fairly inexpensive used, and even when they're new, they're not terrible. This is our mock-up turbo, so it's kind of semi beat up, but it's okay. It shows you how you can go about it, and you could clock this thing different ways. But we'll show you a couple other things down here that we've got some different manifolds here in a second. And we just want to introduce this to you, and it gives you a good solution to turboing, and it's pretty simple. Okay, let's talk about some of the things, different things that go along with this PBT D-150 turbo manifold. That's what we call it. We wanted to show, of course, we showed just a few seconds ago, we talked about how this is basically a T3, T4 pattern. We're using an HX35 turbo on here, and this is an internal wastegate. This is just kind of sitting up here on our mock-up turbo, and I'll talk about that here in a minute. But what we want you to know is that this manifold is the same thing that we built within maybe just a few little differences in it, but not much, that we did for POWERNATION. And POWERNATION also, these manifolds were provided by Aussie Speed, but they were direct modified by Gill Welding and Fabrication, along with the alignment bar also. And that's the same thing that was on POWERNATION, and they made 402 horsepower, I think it was, and 517 foot-pounds of torque. This particular manifold in the floor is the Aussie Speed Hurricane, and we did a direct modification of the Aussie Speed Hurricane with multi-port fuel injection for the engine that POWERNATION did. And they had a similar setup like this on their throttle body. Not exactly the same, but it was really similar. And we can provide those things for you also, depending on what you want to do and how you want to build things. Let's talk just a little bit about the turbo. This particular turbo is just a mock-up HX35 turbo. What POWERNATION used was a different turbo. We don't really know all the specs on that turbo, but they did, make some pretty good power with it on a Slant 6, which was pretty impressive. We don't know all the specs of everything inside the engine, but they did a pretty good job. If you watch the video, you can see a lot of the different things that they put on the engine. But on the turbo, what we want to talk about is internal and external wastegate. This internal wastegate is, of course, the mechanism is actually inside. This one is just a little bit beat up here because it's our mock-up turbo. But what we want to show is that we want to show the downpipe coming off of it, or what could be, how it can be done several different ways. But with this particular setup, you cannot run the Aussie Speed Hurricane because it collides right through here. But if you have an external wastegate, which is basically something like this, POWERNATION had two smaller ones. They had two small versions of something similar to this on a wastegate on each side, where it exits out of the Dutra, and they were controlling they're controlling their exhaust pretty much with that. But their turbo was, like I say, the turbo was external wastegate. It had two of these externally. It also allowed them to use the Hurricane because all of this is gone. Basically, when you pull this off, there, when you pull this off, it's actually a little bit flatter, but when you get a turbo that doesn't have any of this on it at all, it is for an external wastegate, you won't have any of this in the way. None of this will be in the way, and you can use a much longer intake manifold. Now, what we can do, if somebody wanted to, let's see if I can see under there. Okay, if somebody wanted to put on, modify, we can do that. It's going to be a custom thing. We can mount a wastegate pretty much anywhere under, back in, behind, depending on the size of the wastegate. We can either make you something where it dumps to atmosphere, or we can make it to where it comes out back and runs back into the exhaust and keeps it quiet. That's something that you would just have to call us and talk about that, and probably would, a few other things we'd have to have from you before we could actually do that. All right, let's talk about the intake manifolds a little bit and the systems that you can put on it. This particular manifold right here is a Gill Welding and Fabrication Mark II-R, and it's just kind of in a mock-up stage. This particular manifold and these Dutras and another manifold like this one actually we've already got sold. Another manifold like this will be going on my truck Warhammer, which is the project that we've got another video on, and we're going to be going step by step on that, so you can follow along with that. This is a BBK throttle body up here on the front, but down here on the Aussie Speed, this is of course a 4-barrel throttle body, which is a nice system when you're running this kind of a manifold. You can also, you don't have to have this up, you don't have to run a multi-port, even though the multi-port is really a superior system than, let's say, a throttle body injected system. But a throttle body injected system, don't just go out and just throw your throttle body injected system away if you already have one. You can still run the turbo. This is a Clifford, and if you kind of line it up, you can see where the turbo is. Basically, if you line up like this on the back here with the alignment bar kind of centered up, you've got plenty of room where the turbo comes out in the front. Now, of course, this is for a truck. A lot of people ask us about an A-body. We haven't tried this on an A-body, so we don't really know. We developed this for the truck and really not for the A-body. But this particular system, this is considered a wet manifold because the fuel on a throttle body injects here, so the fuel is actually going through it. Whereas with this, the fuel is shot straight down. This is a multi-port, shot straight down into the head, and it's just a lot more efficient system because each cylinder gets what it needs to get. And that makes this turbo so much nicer to have that kind of system. But this system will work very well with this particular manifold, this turbo manifold. This is a Phytech system here on a Clifford manifold. Okay, this manifold right here, because it's just a regular stock manifold, you could put a blow-through. If you actually really wanted to, you could do a blow-through carb, and basically with your turbo, you could basically come straight up and over and into it if that's what you really wanted to do. The aftermarket manifolds that have a heat riser under the bottom of them possibly need to be milled, just because you could have some interference here depending on how far the manifold comes out. Most of these manifolds, like the Clifford and this one, they don't come out too far, so you may not have to worry about this. But if you did, you know, milling this, and if you had to and you were running a T3 like this HX35, you could actually mill the top of that off if you had to have clearance. So there's a couple of different ways that you can go with the turbo. You can have blow through on a carb. You could have blow through on things like the throttle body injected system, or you can have us modify a manifold or buy one of our manifolds that's already set up for fuel injection. The Aussie Speeds are excellent manifolds. We've done Cliffords, Aussie Speed, Offenhauser. I want to say we've done a YN, but I'm not 100%, I can't remember. But I can add all kinds of things in here. We can do that. We can weld up all kinds of things here, and you can still use this turbo, this PBT D-150 turbo manifold on a whole different bunch of manifolds. So we hope that you get something from this, and we have a video that we would love to show you, at least a clip to the POWERNATION video that they did, where they built the Slant 6 and got that tremendous power for a Slant 6, and it was good, solid, usable, everyday power. So we want to introduce you to that, and we thank you for watching the video, and we'll have a new video for you soon.
I don't want to get too crazy with it. I mean, we have good parts, but we're still in pump gas. Don't want to get too crazy with it, but I would like to get it over 10. So I'd say 11 PSI.
I would like to see the boost in the double digits.
Yeah.
And I respect that you don't want to get too crazy with it. That made some very, very nice power.
Oh my gosh. Oh, wow.
There we go, baby.